Derek, and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator X Tutorial 8. Transitioning to jets with me, Eric. Let's go to briefing, and today we're going to be flying jets, obviously, as you can see here. So, estimated time to complete 20 minutes. Aircraft Bombardier CRJ-700 objectives land at Glasgow International Airport. Ready for the airlines. In this tutorial, you'll fly a CRJ-700 regional jet across Scotland from fucking hell, the bloody blah airport to bloody blah EGPF to Glasgow. On the way, you'll learn the basics of flying a jet aircraft. The tutorial begins with your CRJ-700 stopped on a taxiway at Edinburgh Airport. Your instructor will act as your co-pilot. Note: during this flight, your instructor will handle radio communications, but you'll handle all aircraft systems. Before flying this tutorial, fly tutorials 1 to 5. So details. Rotation speed will be less than that, but yeah, sure. Yep. You can navigate in this mission by following the mission compass and mission pointer. Orbit 526 and flaps, gears, pop-up panels, yada yada yada. So, yep, whatever this chart is, I'm sure you understand it. I don't. Let's go.
This flight is just a quick 35-mile repositioning from Edinburgh to Glasgow without any passengers on board. A good opportunity to get you checked out on the Bombardier CRJ-700.
I have no co-pilot.
While we're waiting in line for takeoff, I'll explain a few things. Flying a modern jet isn't really all that different from flying a small prop plane.
My co-pilot is a ghost.
Key differences. The first thing you'll notice is how different the instrument panel looks. Instead of many small, round mechanical instruments, there are just a few large computer screens.
Wait a second. Wait a second. Where's my kneeboard? Where's my kneeboard? I want my fucking kneeboard. Fuck. There it is. Alright, change assignment to Shift F9.
Most of the information is the same, but the presentation is different.
All travel 221, hold short runway 6 right, traffic at the 747 on final.
Holding short 6 right, world travel 221.
Yep.
That call was for another aircraft. We're Orbit 526. I'll handle the radios during this flight, so don't worry if you miss anything. I'll tell you what to do. The display on the left is the primary flight display, or PFD. It combines multiple instruments into one display. The blue and brown section in the middle of the PFD is an attitude indicator.
Yep,
The vertical tape on the left side shows airspeed, and the tape on the right side shows altitude. At the bottom in the middle is a horizontal situation indicator, which shows heading, and to the right of that is a vertical speed indicator. Glass displays like these take some time to get used to, but once you get the hang of it, you'll love them.
Okay, if you say so.
The display to the right of the PFD is the navigation display, which shows a top-down view of the aircraft's position relative to navigational aids and the flight planned route. You can change how the map looks by using the format and range knobs on the left side of the panel. Try it now if you want to.
Format and range knobs on the left side of the... What is it?
Okay, the third display is the Engine Indication and Crew Alerting System, or ICAS.
Fuck it.
The default page shows engine
I have
information,
GPS.
gear and flap positions, fuel quantity, and warning and caution messages. You can scroll through the different ICAS screens by clicking the up and down buttons at the bottom of the display. Each screen provides information about a different aircraft system.
So, we can scroll through here.
Engine gauges showing on the ICAS. The top gauges are labeled N1. As we fly, I'll give you suggested thrust settings. Use your joystick throttle lever or the F2 and F3 keys to move the N1 needles to the settings I suggest. The rows of buttons and knobs just below the windshield is the mode control panel for the autopilot. We won't be using the autopilot on this flight, so don't worry about any of that for now.
But I want to use autopilot.
A big difference between jets and piston aircraft is that in a jet, the engines take a while to spool up. This means that if you add or reduce thrust, there will be a slight delay before your action has any effect. This fact, combined with the jet's higher speed, means that you need to plan ahead.
Alright, what is that thing still doing there?
Position and hold. World Travel 221.
Jets have flaps just like piston aircraft. They're used during takeoff and landing to increase both lift and drag.
There's my flap.
Lower the flaps to 20 degrees for takeoff now by pressing the F7 key 3 times. You can see the flap indicator on the ICAS.
Orbit 526, hold short, runway 6 right.
We'll hold short 6 right, orbit 526.
Hold short, runway 6
Follow
right.
the 737 ahead of us, but hold short of the runway. Release the brakes by pressing the period key and apply some thrust to get us going.
Okay. Here we go. Are you prepared to die, Mr. Invisible Instructor? Because I sure am. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your pilot speaking. We are just really wasting fuel, really. Like, real jets don't actually
Stop here. One last
make
thing.
short trips like
During
this.
the takeoff roll, I'll call out 4 speeds. When I call 80 knots, glance at your airspeed tape to verify it's moving and indicating approximately the same speed as mine.
Right.
When I call V1, it means we're at the speed where we're committed to taking off, because there isn't enough runway to stop at that point.
Alright.
When I say rotate, gently pull back on the stick and rotate the nose into the air. Finally, I'll call V2 when we reach the minimum safety speed at which we can safely climb on just one engine if there's a failure.
That's useful. I did not know that.
World Travel 221, rolling.
Wait a second. We're not starting at the... Why don't we give ourselves the full runway? It's just silly. Fine.
Position and hold, orbit 526. Okay, we're cleared to taxi onto the runway, but not to take off yet. Taxi ahead and turn right onto the runway. Stop once you're on the runway and lined up with the center line.
Okay. So I'm gonna give myself a bit more, just a few meters more of
Press Shift 5 to display the overhead panel
stuff.
and turn on the landing light by clicking the switch in the lower left corner. Then press Shift 5 again to close the overhead. Before we take off, let's review exactly what will happen.
Alright.
You'll control the aircraft, I'll handle the radios. I'll call out 80 knots, V1, rotate, and V2. When I say rotate, gently pull back on the stick to raise the nose to 15 degrees nose up on the primary flight display.
Yep.
I'll tell you to retract the landing gear once we're climbing. Once we reach 1,000 feet above the runway, I'll tell you to pitch down to 10 degrees nose up and to raise the flaps so we can accelerate. Our initial climb will be to our cruise altitude of 6,000 feet, and the departure controller will probably tell us to make a left turn to the west. I'll let you know when to turn.
Alright.
Orbit 526, Windsor cam, runway 6 right, clear for takeoff.
Cleared for takeoff, orbit 526.
Alright. Full throttle up.
Cleared to go. When you're ready, use the throttle lever on your joystick or press the F3 key to add thrust. Start with 50% N1. Let the engine stabilize and then increase thrust to 100%.
There we go. And then 100%. Eighty knots.
V1, rotate. Slowly pitch up to 15 degrees. V2. Positive rate, gear up. Raise the landing gear by pressing the G key.
Alright, so we're gonna climb high up now.
Orbit 526, contact departure.
Orbit 526, switching. Edinburgh departure,
Alright.
orbit 526 with you, climbing to 6,000.
Climbing to
Okay,
6,000.
move the stick to adjust pitch to 10 degrees nose up on the primary flight display, and raise the flaps. Reduce thrust to about 80% N1 to keep our speed below 250 knots. Climb and maintain 6,000 feet.
We're totally
526, roger.
faster than 250 knots. Hope we don't get in trouble.
Orbit 526, turn left, heading 270.
Left to 270, orbit 526. Okay, it's time for the turn. Make a nice easy left turn until our heading is 270 degrees.
There we go.
West. Level off at 6,000 feet and reduce thrust to about 60% N1. That should give us about 250 knots. Let's run through the after takeoff checklist. Landing gear, up.
270.
We'll stay low on this short flight, so don't exceed 250 knots and keep the landing lights on. This is standard practice below 10,000 feet.
Yep, fine. So let's review. On
Flaps
start.
up.
Yep, flaps are up.
526, resume own navigation.
Thrust set to 80% N1 for the climb. After takeoff checklist complete. Resume own navigation, orbit 526. Alright, we've been told to resume our own navigation. This means the controller will no longer be giving us vectors, and we should follow our filed flight plan. Our flight plan route takes us to a point that will line us up for an approach to Glasgow's runway 23, which is currently the active runway. You can use the mission compass to navigate to that point, or you can follow our flight plan on the map page of the navigation display.
Or I can use the
pink line on the
GPS.
screen is the path we should be following.
Where does my nav GPS switch? Hold on. Where's my nav? Lucky we're going too high. Alright, where's my nav GPS switch? There we go. And now, Z, autopilot, and then nav. That'll keep us on the flight plan. And now we're altitude, gonna hold for 6,000 feet. There we go.
We're above our assigned altitude. Descend to 6,000 feet.
Yeah. And then for the speed gauge, speed hold, yep, 250 knots, and then speed hold, and yeah, that's about it. And so, there I just lazied off and assigned everything to the autopilot. So even though I'm not the best pilot ever, no worries, because the autopilot is the best pilot ever. So you know, it's like a hands-free experience right now. Let's see, yaw damper, speed hold. Yep, this thing is pretty much on auto right now. Great. Let's take a look outside. Look at us! We're flying! Cool. Alright. That's the approach hold switch. So I'm gonna do something that's not standard here. I'm gonna find out the ILS thingy of this place. Because you know, who wants to play by the rules? Not me, not this guy. Alright, so the ILS runway 23, ILS 110.1 heading 231. 110.1 heading 231. So let's set this up to be okay, 10.1. Move it in, and then heading course actually. Course, where's our course switch? Where's our course switch? Oh yeah, here. 231. There we go. And yep. So now if I did everything right, which I doubt because I'm me, but suppose I did. Yeah, let's turn on flight director, because why the hell not? What could possibly go wrong? Anyway, suppose I did everything right, so we would be able to auto land once we're on approach over there. So let's just continue observing the scenery. Here's our
Orbit 526, contact Glasgow approach on 119.1.
Orbit 526 switching. Thanks.
Where's
Glasgow
119.1?
approach, Orbit 526 with you.
Fucking lying, man.
Orbit 526, Glasgow approach. Good morning. Reduce speed to 210 knots.
Reduce speed to 210 knots.
Runway 23 at Glasgow. Glasgow altimeter 29902.
Alright.
Slowing to 210 and we'll expect the visual for runway 23, orbit 526. Bring the thrust back to about 50% N1. then adjust it to maintain 210 knots.
How about
Since
200?
the weather's good,
Yeah.
the controller will line us up with the runway and give
Yeah,
us
whatever.
clearance to proceed to the airport visually once we have the runway in sight.
So I'll make it 200 knots. Because fuck instructions. I'm gonna get it down as quickly as possible. Well, 210's fine.
Orbit 526, descend and maintain 3000.
Descend and maintain 3000, orbit 526.
Roger that.
Okay, we've got clearance to descend to 3,000 feet. Reduce thrust to idle and gently push forward on the stick to take us down. Pitch to about 7 degrees nose down to maintain 210 knots as we descend.
Alright, so we are descending at a rate of 17,000 feet per minute. Let's put it back to the original 18,000 feet per minute. And holy shit, where's that? Oh yeah, it's right here. So the nav's GPS switch should be. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the nav GPS switch doesn't exist, since it itself is. Oh yeah, there it is. Alright. So once we get close, we'll just turn on the nav, just switch it back to nav mode.
Okay, level off here at 3,000 feet and bring the thrust back up to about 50% N1 to maintain 210 knots.
Actually, I want to make the speed a bit slower. What's the speed for full flaps? Full flaps is 170 knots, so I'm gonna do that.
Orbit 526, reduce speed to 180 knots.
Slowing to 180, orbit 526.
And
Okay, now reduce thrust a bit to slow to 180 knots. Pull back on the stick a bit to keep the nose from dropping. Maintain 3,000 feet as you slow down.
alright, so
Press F7 twice to lower the flaps to 8 degrees. The flaps will slow us down, so bring the thrust back up to about 60% N1 so we maintain 180 knots.
yeah, no, I'm just gonna full throttle this one. I mean full flaps this one. Or we could follow the instructions, because I'm indecisive like that. I'm like an indecisive rebel. It's like, fuck your instructions, but at the same time, you know, I'll follow your instructions.
Orbit 526, turn left heading 230, vectors for the visual approach runway 23, report the runway in sight.
Left to 230, looking for the runway, orbit 526. Here we
Right.
go. Turn left to 230 degrees. We should see the runway straight ahead once we roll out.
Alright, so nav mode and GPS switched, and now turn on approach
Okay,
hold.
I see the runway. Approach, orbit 526 has the runway in sight.
Orbit 526, cleared visual approach runway 23.
Cleared for the visual, orbit 526. Reduce thrust to idle and begin descending towards the runway.
Right.
Lower the landing gear by pressing G and lower full flaps as we slow down. Press F7 3 times. In a large aircraft like this, the speed you land at changes depending on how heavy you are.
Come on.
At our current weight, our final approach speed will be 130 knots. Adjust thrust to maintain 130 knots as we descend
Okay,
toward the runway.
so we're auto landing. Nice. See that? That's not me. That's the autopilot. and I'm gonna arm the speed brakes, so it'll auto extend once we touch down. Now pretty much it's hands off until we get to the ground, and once we get to the ground, all I have to do is reverse thrust, reverse thrust, okay, and also speed. So 130 knots. Actually 125 knots, just cause.
Orbit 526, contact tower on 118.8.
Switching to tower now. Orbit 526. Thanks.
Right, cool.
Go tower, orbit
Look
526.
at all the
with you on a
buildings.
visual approach for runway 23.
Orbit 526, Glasgow Tower, you're number 1. Clear to land, runway 23.
We are the champions.
Clear to land, orbit 526. We're clear to land, so let's run through the before landing checklist. It's a short one.
Just like my dick.
Landing gear?
No, it's not.
Down. Flaps set to 45 degrees.
Is it? Maybe it is. I don't know.
Landing checklist complete. Continue descending. Once we're about 50 feet over the runway, reduce thrust to idle and pull back on the stick slightly to touch down on the main wheels first.
Right.
Then slowly lower the nose.
Alright. So if you haven't noticed, I'm pretty much not touching anything right now. This is like a hands-free experience, which is great. I like hands-free experiences. Look at us. No shitty piloting from me. You know, that's just one of the few plus points. And I'll turn off the speed hold. It's 22%. So speed hold, 23%. Yep, that's good enough. We'll lower this just a bit. And then once I feel that we're somewhat on top of the runway, I'm just gonna disengage the autopilot with my super secret autopilot disengage key. Yep, now's a good time to do that. There we go. And now we're gonna reduce the throttle to almost 0. And reduce it to 0. And there we go.
Nice landing.
Orbit
Yes.
526, turn left next taxiway and contact ground on 121.7.
Ground on 121.7, orbit 526. Turn left on the
Nice.
next taxiway. Once you're clear of
See what
the
I did
runway,
there?
Stop, retract the flaps, and turn off the landing lights.
We could do that now, actually. Retracted the flaps, turned off landing lights, and turn left next taxiway. I'm not sure if you're supposed to turn left here, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Damn it.
Glasgow ground,
Alrighty.
26, clear of 23.
Orbit 526, taxi
Nice.
follow the 737 on the taxiway all the way to Rock.
We'll follow the 37, orbit 526.
Wait, where's the 737?
Okay, just follow that 737 on the taxiway. He's going to the same ramp, just a different gate.
Alright. I'm just gonna have to race after it. So I think, are we supposed to... where now? Alright, fine. I think this is a good place to
turn
turn.
into this area. Our gate is the last one on the right side.
Wait a second.
There's our gate at the end. Pull up to the jetway and stop.
Okay, I don't see no gate. Probably because my quality settings are turned on. My object settings are turned on super low. Okay, so that's one on the right side. So it should be I don't know. There? Okay, fine. Oh, there we go.
Stop here. Excellent job.
Oh, I did it! I did not screw anything up! Except for the overspeeding thing at the start, but otherwise I did not screw anything up. This is nice! This is nice! I feel very good about everything else that follows, all the other missions that follow. Anyway, let's go. Alright, so we got our iron wings. It's like Iron Man, but without the man and with wings. And look at these wings. These wings has got a small turbine, a small turbo fan in the center of it. Earned for mastering mission tutorial 8 logbook. Blah blah blah. That's what we did before. What I did before. And end mission. Yes. So that's another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator X in the books. Tune in next time for more. And until next time, stuff happens.